have on the fucking knees over toes guy, Ben Patrick. So funny story of how I met Ben Patrick. I was on Instagram. I got a random DM from one of my followers. I forget who even DM'd me. He said, "Hey, what do you know about this knees over toes shit?" I said, "I have no idea. I'll check out the profile." I look at it. I DM the guy, and turns out we know each other through just previous life experiences, right? He followed DeFranco's way back. He goes, "Oh shit, Mike, yeah." And then he was super, 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 super nice, super generous, showed me his whole program, was awesome with everything. And then at that point, you had only had like 20,000 followers or 40,000 followers. Fast forward, I don't know, a year. This motherfucker's at 150,000 followers right now and just keeps growing. And your program is, I mean, it's something that I would do. I fucking like your program. It's simple.
Appreciate that.
It's effective. I mean, shit, dude, I think I blew you enough in this intro. You are blowing up right now. Everyone knows knees over toes right now. Everyone knows it. You're everywhere. And how many people do you have doing your programs now?
Over 5,000.
Oh shit.
2 years ago it was 50. No joke, 50.
Wow.
I told you, dude. This guy straight up kills it. He just hustles.
But
there's the baby again.
No worries.
I definitely hustle. I'm turning away. Let me tell you though about when I had to be about 15, 16, 17, 18. Mike Guadango was like my Michael Jordan at that time. Because I did have the natural 19-inch vertical. You know, there's like always that one kid in the gym who like can barely even squat all the way down with no weight and has like a 95-pound bench press, but is like trying every plyometric drill to jump higher, but it's just like so weak. That was me. Then had knee surgery. So I remember watching Mike jump on 60-inch boxes with like a freaking weight vest on. And I was just telling my dad a few days ago, I'm like, "Dad, you'll never guess who I'm doing a podcast with." And I told him that it was with you. And he was like, "Holy crap, I remember you just gushing about this when you were a teenager." But it showed to me like, okay, you can change your athleticism, right? Like there's so much telling you, you know, that it's just genetics and this kind of stuff. So following Mike, like I love Joe for sure, but I definitely gravitated more towards Mike because I could see him doing this with his body. And I was like, I just want to be able to do that. Right. And now for me, because of my basketball history, totally overdoing it on the plyometrics. By the time I was 18, I already had 3 different surgical knee alterations. Like my knees were a mess. So like just imagine your career, Mike, but if you had 3 knee surgeries in high school, that was me. So I wanted to be able to do what you do, but I just had the worst knees. So that's pretty much my system is like, okay, how do you change athleticism? But I had to just like reverse engineer it down to where you see the stuff I start with. It's like really low level stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But for people who've had knee problems, it allows us to kind of even the playing field. Now you see me doing this freakish knee stuff, but I swear it's built on like the most base, easy stuff to start with that most strength coaches wouldn't even think it would be worth the time. You know what I mean? But it really is for guys who've had knee problems.
So you're talking about very low level GPP stuff, beginner stage physical therapy that you sort of accumulate with time and then intensify the exercises? Kind of.
Just to throw some examples would be like training the tibialis muscle, right? Like that's it's way down there. It's this little muscle, chicks don't dig big tibs, no one walks in the gym. How much do you tib raise? But I strap up weights. I strap up dumbbells. Like I can out tib both you guys. No offense, but my tibialis muscles are definitely stronger than both you guys because that became my bench press. And then something like reverse sled, that became life. I've done hundreds of miles of it. And then, so you see what I'm saying there. And then being able to do a deep knee bend was like the hardest thing in the world for me. So I kind of found this, Charles Pollock, when he was promoting it, which is kind of like an ass to grass style split squat, but you can elevate the front foot. You can use assistance. So you get what I'm saying? These kind of things that really seem like wussy things. My whole mission is really just to show people, like, you know, to give it a fun look and to show that it can be cool to regress and to train these smaller muscles and to accept, okay, I'm doing a deep knee bend. My foot's elevated 1 foot off the ground and I'm using assistance. And that's okay, because that I can gradually build on that. So now I can go, you know, bar in front 80 kilos, which is the male standard flat ground ass to grass split squats, which less than one in about 1 million people have that level of dorsiflexion and leg drive. And now I do have over a 40-inch vertical, but I had to go so far back to these things that really aren't cool. They're not sexy. You know what I mean? And you're really just you're pouring so much money in the bank into those decelerators to just gradually build them up until those tibialis and VMOs start to actually turn into muscles for guys like me, where there was no evidence of a tibialis or a VMO.
So how did you come up with this system that you're progressing? You started with something and now it's building into more and more stuff, and it's becoming a fucking juggernaut. How did you start coming up with this?
Well, you even have video way before I was doing this. You remember you sent me that video? You have video.
My knee rehab video from 10 years ago.
You were doing the same stuff I'm doing. Like, you were already on that same line of thought. For me, it was really getting to a point where I realized, like, you know, this is really important stuff, but until someone makes it cool, you know what I mean? Like, so okay, you see my Instagram growth. I have 150,000 followers, but don't let it fool you. Me and my wife were just talking about this last night. I kept my stats on things, and I averaged about 63 hours per week on Instagram during that time. Ooh. Just posting, answering DMs, because I realized I was helping people so much in person, but it was still such a fringe subject, and it just hurt to still see all the things I know can help people be so quote unquote unorthodox or quote unquote non-scientific, when really all the evidence indicates these are the solutions we need. We just haven't tested. Like, none of the stuff that I'm talking about that you were already doing, people haven't just done simple testing on this stuff. And so for me, it became like, okay, I'm going to have to actually take the same passion I have for helping people's knees in person, and I'm going to have to apply that passion for actually making it popular. So this is no joke. Since November of 2018, I haven't failed to have a weekly meeting just to go over my social media statistics and see how do I keep growing. I was the guy who thought Instagram was for pussies, that social media was, you know, the ruin of the world, but this is what it's taken. And now and this is just from what people send me. I'm never like asking them for it, but I have over 1,500 knee success stories in the last 2 years. And that simply would not have occurred if I didn't apply that same obsessive passion towards social media.
So you sent me an article that you wrote last year or something like that, and it was like it was your formula for success for social media growth.
Oh wow!
And it was, dude. And I look
see
at
what
it.
I'm saying. It was intense.
Yeah, you follow it to the fucking T. 400 video posts per week, minimum.
That's what I was doing at the time. Yeah.
400 video posts per week, and 10% of all monies earned donated, put right towards advertising for social media.
Right. I was coming up with systems, stats each week, grinding 63 hours a week.
Now, dude, you're a fucking sharp dude. You are a sharp dude to go from nothing to King Kong. Like, when it comes to online programming, bro, not many people outside of, you know, hot Instagram chicks have this many people signed up for it. No BS. I mean, it's not like you're Stan Efferding or, you know, you're Mandy Sachs.
Nope.
So
I'm a skinny white dude with freckles, and, you know.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, so for you to do this, it is incredible. Like,
I appreciate that.
Bro, it is inspiring.
It was a slow burn. And what I did is I realized, since I'm coaching unorthodox stuff, so like, you know this as a coach, right? You remember the knee stuff that you were coming up with. Now imagine just giving someone that video and never watching their form.
Mm-hmm.
Some would get results and it would go, but you know, a bunch of people are just going to butcher it. Their form's going to be off. And so what I did from day one is I was like, all right, how do I still see the person's form? So every session when these people are doing these unorthodox exercises, they're then sending in their last set so that I can see, not the beginning, warm up set with no weight, like they're sending in their last set of each of these key exercises. And it started out just me, and I would coach the form. There's no secrets. I was doing about 60 hours a week on Instagram, and then about 60 hours a week actually coaching people online. Is insane. Ask what? And yeah, my wife is chiming in. So I really, it was a poor girl. I mean, like I gave her like no time, but now I actually spend only less than 3 hours a day on social media stuff. Like so what is that? I went from like 60 hours a week to 20 hours a week, still working for clients, but my overall workload has come way down because now people that I was coaching, that then it changed their life. When you're a dude who's had to quit basketball because of knee surgeries and stuff like that, and now you not only are pain-free, but you're hooping and like your knees are stronger than other dudes and you're dunking and doing things, it's life-changing for guys like me. So my whole staff is guys exactly like me who I helped, who are like, dude, I'll do anything to work for you. Now I have a staff of 10 people. So we keep that, we basically just slowly. So if you saw the graph, it started out at like 18 people that I knew, people I had trained in person who no longer lived in the area, right? Because I had a gym for 6 years and I was just as obsessive in the gym. A good day to me was 4 a.m. to midnight of nonstop clients. I haven't had lunch in years. It's not there's no time for that. Breakfast and dinner are fine, but like once I'm in a roll, right? I just want to be so clear on that. Like there's not shortcuts to this. So it was 6 years of coaching people's form in person to really figure out how is every exercise, in or out, black or white, yes or no, correct form or not correct form, to then getting results online, to then taking some of those people online to join me and coach the form. So we actually average like a 2 to 3 hour turnaround time. We have guys practically around the clock, always 7 days a week, coaching the exercise form. So it's like a really simple business, which has just gradually grown because there's no tricks, there's no gimmicks. That's it. That's the business. You get to learn the stuff, everything I could possibly know. There's nothing held back. There's no tiers and stuff like that. And then we actually work for you. And it seems like a slower process that way, but it gets better results. Think back, Mike, if you could have coached people's form on those exercises, right? They would get great knee results. And then imagine taking like the worst of your clients who now were like becoming beasts because of that. And they're like, I mean, what do they want to go do? Like work at McDonald's or, like this is a dream job for guys who love this stuff. So then they have the same passion and the same work ethic. It wouldn't really work if it wasn't like, if I was just like hiring random trainers, people would get sick of doing this. So now imagine, so really anyone could have built this same concept. And, I just stumbled into it, from the knee surgeries to just studying anything and everything, putting together solutions, and then taking that slow approach of actually coaching people. So I knew like, okay, if this is really going to grow, it can't be like a quick money grab. I have to make results. And it really keeps my business simple. It's like, am I getting results or not? And if I'm getting results, the universe tends to reward you. So that's all I do. I just focus on, better and better and better and better results and service. And that's it. And then it's like, my goal was 2,000 clients. That was like my lifetime goal based on like the finances of what that works out to. But so I don't even stress on the numbers. Like I don't even care as long as I can maintain over that like 2,000. And here I am over 5,000, members.
So just so that I'm informed, is it just knee rehab, or is there then a system afterwards that when people are healthy that you're training them in other ways too?
Over 3,000, those 5,000 are just on my knee ability program. Then because I was an in-person coach for 6 years, it was like, okay, you get someone's results on their knees. And my knee system is really like, it's kind of like an ankle knee system. Like you can't, whatever your ankle can absorb is going up to your knee. So I just want to be kind of clear on that. So it's almost like my ankle knee system, I could die happy if that was all I ever coached. 100% is if I just coached ankles and knees. But you then have people asking, and even for me, because if you see my Instagram, it's a very active, like I don't even think I've reached my potential, like not even close. I think I'm going to run faster and jump higher. Right. So I'm just then sharing those things like, here's maybe a more strategic, measurable way to build your back, your shoulders. Like really quick example, right? Deadlift, one of those like king exercises for sure. Right. But let's take guys with really funky backs. So what I did is I broke down, your back strength into other movements, not the deadlift. So it starts with a seated good morning. Sorry, my headphones coming out. So it breaks down into into 3 different movements to hit the whole range. So you think about a seated good morning, the mobility to get your abs to the bench without losing the curve in your lower back. Now think where the weight is, because if you think about the levers, right? When your thighs and torso are like even with each other, that's where the load is heaviest. Because when you're sitting, anyone can sit there. There's no weight yet. As you start to lean forward, it gets heavier, right? So that's really just isolating and strengthening the deepest position of a deadlift that you don't quite go to in a deadlift. But that's like the deepest that you would get. But now imagine on a single like back extension, if you have to actually hold the top position. Well, that's now the very top of a deadlift, and it actually overloads it harder, because you think about a back extension machine, it leans you forward. So it's hard to hold that top position. And then you think about an RDL. What does an RDL hit? Really just that mid position. When your low back comes to parallel, you're really in like a 90-degree angle. So that would be 3 different movements that from training thousands of people, I know what numbers like a male should be hitting versus, and a female should be hitting. So you'll have a guy who's like, my deadlift has stalled. I've got these back issues, blah, blah. And then they find out that like one of those areas is super weak compared to the others. You see what I mean? So it's still strength training, but it's not a very fast approach to strength training. And it's not like trying to take over whatever, someone else is doing. It's kind of like here's almost like a loaded rehab approach to your ankles, knees, hips, shoulders. So yeah, nothing's really changed. Like I'm constantly working it, but in the last year, I've stuck with the same 20 movements for the whole body. And you have male targets for everything and female targets for everything. And once you hit the standard on all 20, because like, I don't care what sport you play, you should be able to do 10 chin-ups if you're a male. Like it doesn't really matter what sport you play. But what about after that? So if you're like a skier versus a rock climber, the rock climber should then go from the standard to world class. So the rock climber would then build to where he can hang half his body weight and do 5 chin-ups. But the skier, I'm just saying, just maintain your 10 body weight chins. That's it. So it goes like this for all 20 numbers, because I also wouldn't want the rock climber with world-class legs weighing him down. But I think that like every human should have these 20 baseline numbers. And then depending on what you want to try to be world-class in, because it's not realistic to say, yeah, you're going to go be the best at everything. Look at decathletes. They stink at all 10 events compared to the best in those 10 events. No, but again, if you want to be a decathlete, I'd be like, yeah, don't try to hit world-class on anything, but try to get like between the standard and world-class on everything, something like that. So so there's definitely more than just knees, but it doesn't matter. Even if some of that stuff is intelligent and well thought out, there's no doubt that just the way that the market works, you can see the majority, 60% are like, thanks for the knees, now fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. That's totally okay.
Point. That's my question. My next question. So what's the typical amount of time that people within the program, and how many new
6
people
months
do you
on
need to
average.
bring in? Okay, cool.
Yeah, which is pretty good for this kind of business that someone stays on 6 months. And I'm not even I don't even try to come up with ways to like try to pull their arm to stay longer. I just look for ways I can get better. And I think the 2 ways I could potentially improve client retention are: 1, I have a new site that's almost done. And one of the things we're going to add is that members can choose or not to enter their location and how people might want to reach out to them. Because if you're going to go to the gym and look like an idiot, you might as well do it with someone else. Honestly, it's pretty embarrassing to go to the gym and do these exercises. It's really embarrassing. Like you're literally strapping up a dumbbell to your foot and like going to failure. Like you look like a total idiot. And then you have these naysayers who really don't know what they're talking about and have no idea what you've been through with your knees and what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? And so I think that if people could find others, I think that would be one aspect. And then my long-term game, because I have like a personal web developer now for quite a few months. And so like his long-term game with me and what he came to me and approached me on, he was a member who was like, dude, I think we could really improve this if we got it to where it tracks those 20 numbers for you and kind of gives you like your ranking. So a custom app with your ranking. So now it's a little bit cool for some people to do how much you did in a tibialis raise. And because we form coach everything, you can't cheat anything. So it's like pretty cool that because the way I've built the business, that, okay, if someone says they can do 10 chin-ups and 10 kilos for 20 reps in a tibialis raise, we actually have to see that and then click it in for that to actually add to their ranking. And this is actually not that hard of stuff for app developers to do. It's pretty realistic within a couple of years.
And what you can also do on top of that is you do who's got the best average, the best combination. And from those metrics, you can actually figure out which ones really matter and what you improve and how it correlates.
Totally true. Totally true. And you
how-
could even detect a guy hurts his shoulder. Well, let's look at his numbers.
Yes.
And you can get better for your clients. But again, it's kind of about like, what does CrossFit have? Community and competition. And those are the two things I don't have right now. So usually someone will finish, some people stay on for life for sure, but 6 months is like the average, because you kind of have people who stay on for life. And then you have people who like just want to do a month to like see what it's about. And that's fine. 6 months is the average. And then people are like, this changed my life. Now I have the data. I'm using it with myself. I'm now helping others. And they're like, but they have the data and like, they're ready to move on. But if there was like a community and a competition, like, whoa, this dude has the best legs in the state, or whatever. Again, it's people love competing, even if it starts out as a niche thing. And as Mike said, you can get even better for your clients if you can be keeping more specific metrics and tracing back why maybe are these injuries happening. If certain guys are having, such and such an injury or pain, what numbers could we maybe figure out there?
Sure. And that's the beauty of now you've already got this growth and you've got all of these people. The more data you can collect, the more specific solution, the more customized to solutions you can make to specific problems. So now you've done that's where this success spiral can really start rapidly evolving, right? And you can make quantum leaps because you've got this group of people now and this great reputation. So man,
Definitely.
When you were saying that you form watch everything, so then let's say, for example, I don't know what the program is, but if it's 3 days a week, as an example,
it's three. I use 3 days. I know a lot.
So
of
you would have
strength coaches go more,
5,000. You'd have 5,000 videos, not
we do
completely
about
to watch.
We do about 8,000 videos a week, right? Because you have to think that some members are sending in, some aren't. But that's we keep stats on everything. Yeah, we did over 8,000 videos last week.
Oh,
between 10 fucking people.
Yeah. It's not that bad if you think about, 7 days a week with a bunch of guys working at it. And we've coached this stuff so much. I mean, we're masters of this system. If you throw us into another system, we'd be effed. You know what I mean? But like, this is what we know and do. And again, you have to think it's not like we went from 0 to 8,000. So whatever that number is, it's actually quite easily manageable for us. And I'm always, rather than waiting until we have a problem, like I already have out of those 8,000, like I had one guy who only did 300. He's brand new. And he was a client who then got down all 20 standards. He's dunking off all 4 plants, meaning in basketball, I try to get guys where they can dunk, or not just dunk, but dunk off your right leg, right, left step, or left, right step. That's like if you play basketball, I won't hire you unless you can do that. So he can do all that. Since he became a member, he built out a garage gym. He's helping players get scholarships now, training them out of his garage gym. And I'm like, dude, you can make more money working for me than trying to reinvent the wheel. And so he's already in training and we don't even need him yet. You see what I mean? So like I go on the side of like extra service and being ready for it. So whatever that number is, well, it happens to be 8,000, but for us, that's like totally easily manageable.
Bro, that's incredible.
You're a well-oiled machine, man.
So bro, this is what I want to get into. Where the fuck did you learn how to manage systems? How did you learn how to develop this system? Where did you learn how to manage it? Like you ever read the book Thinking in Systems?
Without question, my dad. Because you have to think my dad knows nothing about working out. He's like the perfect person. He knows nothing about basketball and jumping and working out. He's the perfect guy. All he's worked on is trying to manage, stuff like this, but in totally different spaces. He was on, if you remember when they had like Reader Rabbit in like whatever the hell that was, like the beginning, he was a computer programmer in San Jose back when there was like the first like video learning and this kind of stuff. So, I mean, that's just total dumb luck that my dad was a computer programmer who had to figure, that this is the kind of stuff he had to figure out, is organization stuff. So sometimes things go way better when you have like a bird's eye view and you know nothing about the subject, you know what I mean? And for him, that was it. Like he would look, so he's always been there. Once he could see, he was kind of hands off on my gym and just like let me make every mistake possible. Like I was the worst gym owner because I would just like train people for free. If they couldn't pay, I'd be like, look, wipe down the dumbbells and like, you're good. You got a 40-inch vertical. Like I can't tell you now, you know what I mean? So, but once he saw like, wow, this online thing like actually has potential as a real business, then he's really been helping me. And that was the first thing he did, is like, dude, if you want to get your social media stats up, like you don't even keep track of your stats. So I haven't missed a week since November 2018 that he made me keep stats every single week. So he looks at my stats every week. He looks at how many starts do we have? How many cancellations do we have? How many videos did we coach? How every, analytic, he looks at that. So it's just total dumb luck, to be honest, that my dad happens to be that guy.
That's fucking, dude.
Because I also couldn't have hired someone to do that.
No.
You see what I mean? Like,
yes.
When you're at the beginning, like you're totally screwed. You make no money. Everything's a loss. Like you have no money. So it's like, oh, I want a website. All right, $8,000 in debt already. You see what I mean? So having my dad to be making me take the right steps, which it's super obvious stuff, but I don't know, like when you're good at one thing, somehow we like can suck at other things. So everything he's done is super obvious, but it's saved me from probably making a lot of mistakes, such as he's like, you need to hire another person in this department. You know what I mean? I'm like, really? Yeah, you need to hire another person here. And then sure enough, like we do need to hire, and I wouldn't have known that it would have been better to hire that person sooner, anyways, it's very fortunate.
How are you keeping track of all these, of all this data now? You have 5,000 people with probably, do you change workouts monthly? Do you progress them monthly, bi-monthly?
I have three main programs. I go real simple, target based. The first layer is just body weight, like getting used to these motions. Then the next layer is what I call the standards. So you're building up to base qualities like that you should be able to do. Nothing freaky, but pretty freaky actually if you can do all of them, because you don't have any weak links. And then I have the world class. I'm not a fan for what I do of like fancy wave loading or this or that. It doesn't mean there's not value to that. But for what I do, like how I mentioned the back, how I mentioned like I'm hitting different movements for that. It's
progressive overload.
It's like just get good at all three. Your body, it's so different for your body doing these different movements. And certain movements are more conducive to different rep ranges anyways, that like it doesn't really matter. Like for the knee, I don't just squat. I do this kind of reverse step up. Like you were doing something similar, Mike. I do like a reverse, like a backward step up. I do that all the way down split squat I mentioned. And then I do build, it's kind of like a sissy squat progression though, like a really safe, never work through pain progression. That's three completely different areas of leg strength. Like your quads are going to be fine. Like it doesn't matter if you mix up the sets and reps. So we tend to do 5 sets, and I tend to pick the best rep range to target that area, in the sense like, okay, I like 5 reps on a Nordic because I want you to be able to focus on the way down. It doesn't matter if research says I should mix up and do 10 reps. Like who wants to think about focusing and actually trying to fight that eccentric for 10 reps? It's just common. So I use common sense, really simplified 3 days a week, because you could do more for sure, but we're digging into these nooks and crannies. I'd rather have you take a day off in between. Even if you're like, man, I really want to do something on my off day. I'm like, great. Like, let that freaking testosterone build up and let's have a masterpiece tomorrow. But no one's not going to get strong by doing these things because you're hitting 20 different movements. If you're only doing one movement for an area, I feel like that's where you can get into trouble. Or honestly, if someone's coaching sucks, look, you guys have beards. I can probably talk about more on this podcast than I would on a normal, politically correct podcast. But I tell people when they ask me this, I compare it to the perfect woman. Like, the uglier a chick is, you do need to like wear some makeup. Like, that's your half an hour foam rolling and like you need some makeup on there. She's going to need to mix up what she's wearing. You're going to be like, damn, she doesn't look good in that outfit anymore. That's your wave loading of your reps and all this stuff like that. And you're going to need to deload. Like, you need a break from that bitch, because if she's not that good looking, you need a week off. And when you come back, it's like, she looks pretty good now after a week off. So I keep it simple. I'm chasing like the perfect woman, that's like, yeah, you can be naked, not wear makeup, and hang around me all the time. That's kind of what I'm after.
Bro, I'm 100% with you. I mean, the fancy bells and whistles with all the training and the periodization, dude, what it comes down to is progressive overload. How strong are you in these how competent are you in these core exercises? Can we get you better? Let's improve you. But now my question is, how do you figure out, do you continue to build upon those 20 exercises? Because do you know Anatoly Bondarchuk?
Yep.
And transfer of training, right? You reach a certain point where now the strength becomes a negative. Now I'm certain that majority of your population.
You're asking the best questions. And first off, I'm not trying to be the best coach. I'm really just trying to be the most workable. You're going to be a better coach for an elite athlete than I'm going to be, because you're going to be able to get more detailed. You see what I mean? At the top. And also there's the mental aspect that someone, once they do get that high, they might need some of these things I was mentioning that I don't use, because they're already at such a high level, which is kind of what you were going into. Meaning, yes, I think like, could my system help everyone? Absolutely. But the athletes you're training with that one-on-one touch, there's no doubt like that's going to add layers to it without question. And I'm not trying to be that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to say that this is going to be better than what you could do. You see what I mean? Like, sure. Like I think that anyone could probably find some weak links in my system, just because I've been so obsessive about just finding the weak links, meaning there is no bench, squat, or deadlift in my program. That doesn't mean you can't do that. And you might find some weak links to make that go up, but I'm not trying to get to that, that super fine level that maybe as someone trying to break an Olympic world record, you might want to get into that stuff. That being said, I've gotten pretty freaky athletic by actually being obsessively not complicated. So I'm not going to change now when I'm still getting more athletic. I was in the upper like 10% of the NFL defensive backs I've trained in terms of sprint speed. And I famously ran a 6-second 40 my sophomore year of high school that my coach made me take my shoes off in front of the whole team to prove that I didn't have lead weights in them. Like, I'll still never know, like, what the hell are you talking about, lead weights? They put, when my team sweatshirt came in, it said white bread on the back. Like, I don't even know what that meant, but like, my nickname by the end of the year was Pan Blanco. Like, that's Spanish for white bread. I don't even know how that happened, but I was the guy made just like I was the butt of the jokes of how unathletic I was. So for me to be able to outrun an NFL defensive back, that's fine. Like, I don't need to be more complicated than that. And if I can stay, you can see, since I only allow myself and others to train 3 days a week, you kind of never get overtrained. We're never going outside of our toolbox. So I'm never introducing something that might cause me like a tweak in training. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just keeping it really simple. So it's interesting that I just think that's a different task for someone else to figure out, right? There's no way I can figure everything out, because that would mean I'd have to be living different lives. So it's kind of like, I'm going to see how good I can get off the simple, and then other people can figure out other things.
Since you've got this super streamlined process then with your basic programs, What's the most time consuming part of what you're with what you're doing?
I mean, that's the crazy thing about it, is that I don't have to work as much as I used to. So it's
Right.
I would say now it more comes down to quality. Like, I have to hire the best at what they do, and I have to train them super well. And then I have to oversee the quality on every single thing. So that's what I do now. It's about obsessively making sure that I'm not going to let up the quality, because one thing to do it yourself, and it's a curse, man, to try to do it all yourself. And if you're really good at what you do, you want to do it all yourself, because you try to get someone else to do it and they don't have the same care and attentiveness, and they don't have the same passion. And then you're like screwed trying to get someone else to do it, but then you can't expand that way. So that's really what I have to, that's what I work at now. You know what I mean? Is the systems themselves, and really listening to clients, not being like, oh man, you're an idiot because you think I need a better site or this or that, but being like, so I just take, so members have my personal WhatsApp number, and then I have one guy who helps me filter it, because some people will be asking like a basic question, what's your opinion on icing or whatever. So I've made videos to answer these kind of common questions. But if there's anything that like needs my answer, so I still, that's probably the most time consuming thing I do, is I still spend the time each day to personally answer the member feedback that doesn't get answered by simple basic stuff, because that's what allows me to know, oh wow, that would allow me to get better. So I don't take it as like a criticism. I take it as like, here's free advice how to get better. Now, sometimes I do get a little pissed, but you know, overall I try to, like a guy sent me this morning, like no offense to him, but I kind of was pissed. He sent me 27 form videos like to my WhatsApp that he had already had coached in the app, and he like just wanted a second opinion, which is like, I'm just not set up, you know what I mean? Like to go outside of my standard things. So hopefully he's not pissed. I tried to like keep my answer together and just, you know, tell him, I told him I would do one at a time, you know, cause it's all through the app and it keeps your exercise history. Like it's much better that way than just a random, like I have no idea where he was before. I have no idea what his goals are. I don't know what programming, nothing. And I just have like 27 videos. So sometimes if something's like kind of off, I might lose my shit a little bit, but for the most part, I really appreciate, you know, like the member feedback, and they'll ask super detailed stuff that, I mean, I just put out an article about a super rare knee condition that I didn't even realize that many people have. Literally your tibia and fibula go out of place. And so doctors often think you like tore your meniscus, but it pops back in. And so it's actually called tibiofibular dislocation. Well, I made this because a member was like, do you know anything about this? My knee like pops out and then it'll stay stuck sometimes, you know, up to a day, a week, and then sometimes it'll pop back in. Like you literally can't walk. Well, I had that starting at age 9. And just from the general strengthening, whatever, it straightened things out so that it doesn't happen. But I had learned some specific things about that I never would have thought to make something on. But now here's someone who has that. So I'm making that. Sure enough, I make it. And I already have like a dozen comments from other people like, dude, doctors operated on my meniscus thinking it was that. Sure enough, it keeps happening again. I can't believe someone finally told me what this is. I linked in a discussion board. There's thousands of people out there who have had misdiagnosed meniscus surgeries when really it was this tibiofibular dislocation. So I never would have thought to make a whole article and video and stuff about this, but because of member feedback, now I know, oh wow, that's actually something that's needed. So that's pretty much what I do now, is I'm really just like listening to what members need and then trying to provide that. So now I have so many articles and things on my site that go into details that I didn't have a month ago, 2 months ago, and so on.
Sure. And I mean, it's so important for any business to keep building this customer relationship. And because you're running a standardized program, you still want to know the intricacies of each person so that, you know, you can mold your communication towards that, right? How much due to this great customer service, how much of your clients are recommending you out, or is all of your, like the new members, are they like random guys? Okay.
That's why we've grown so much, because of I've never had those like influencer codes or things like that. Like people, my dad told me from the beginning, if you're going to make this work, it has to be 1, results, and 2, personal touch. So it's to this day, like that's at the top of my motto that I look at every day. Results and personal touch is basically like, you can fail if you don't get results. But like if you get results, like things are just going to work out. So without question, that's why we've grown so much, because people get results and they tell other people about it. They post it on social media. And that's the number one reason that we've, grown. Now I have to be on social media promoting those things to actually make it all happen. But still, the word of mouth alone probably would have gotten us to a pretty nice level.
That's awesome. So it's interesting that you've noticed that the tib fib dysfunction that can occur. And what's awesome is you call yourself an ankles and knees guy. Now,
Yep.
What happens is guys will roll their ankles. So I see something like this. I don't see dislocations. I'll see subluxations. And
Yep.
guys will roll their ankles. And what happens is one aspect, when you roll your ankle, your inversion, eversion sprain, whatever it is, that will lock up. And when one aspect
Yep.
of the joint becomes immobile, the opposite end becomes hypermobile.
Yep.
So what happens? It just goes back and forth. Now, what are you doing in your program? You're strengthening the gastroc. You're stretching the shit out of the gastroc. You're strengthening the tibialis anterior. You're stretching the shit out of the tibialis anterior. And what does that do? That syncs up that joint on both distal and proximal ends, and
Yep.
it clears everything up. And now all of a sudden, it's able to move freely. That's phenomenal. I mean, you're fixing problems,
But it's not sexy.
No,
And that's why I'm on social media. That's why I'm bounding, triple jumping into dunks and shit, because I'm just trying to make that sexy. Like, let's be honest, it doesn't look cool to train.
Yep. Yeah, you're spot on. So now you say that you're not getting elite things. However, elite numbers with certain things. You have over a 40-inch vertical. Bro, I can count on one hand how many 40-inch verticals I've seen, and I've coached guys from every single NFL team. Okay?
Yep.
A 40-plus inch vertical is an incredible vertical. What past the general numbers now, your general stuff, are you doing? Are you doing advanced plyometrics? Are you just doing these exercises?
And that's the thing, is that I'm not doing the advanced shit. And every time I've tried to then get advanced, then my progress completely stops. This is what kind of got me from the upper 30s over the 40-inch mark, was that sissy squat progression with no weight. So to this day, you'll see me do them, and I do them body weight. That's the
your
only
sissy
thing.
squat is the Peterson step up?
No, I call it a KOT squat. If you go on my Instagram and you see when I stand on a ledge and contract my glutes and lower my knees all the way out, the thing that everyone's like, oh my God, you're going to blow out your knee, blah, blah, blah. Athlean X says it's the worst exercise ever, and has a picture of Tom Platz in his article, even though Tom's in his 60s and has rock bottom squat mobility while his other guys have knee replacements. Let's use a guy who's a perfect example of how great this exercise is to tell you not to do it, because the people are so stupid. But anyways, so that doesn't even add weight to it. It's really about the progression of how much load of your own body weight you can handle when your knee goes way the farthest over your toe you possibly can, right? So that's the only thing I changed strength-wise to go from upper 30s to over 40. And you know what I did for my jumping? I actually stopped doing complex plyometrics at all. And you know what I did is I realized if my left-right plant is higher than my right-left plant, that means I have tendon gains waiting just by doing the right-left plant. So now it's become this whole thing for me. I'm responsible for at least half of these pro dunkers who don't play sports and they just do 360 and they can have literally near 50-inch off the run verticals. I'm responsible for half those performances from literally just getting them to jump the other side. Take a guy right, left. There's a guy who's blown up now. He had 2,000 followers when I started training him. 100,000 followers, now been on SportsCenter. His right quad was 2 inches bigger than his left, just because he only planted ever one side. I got him to do my basic knee stuff. He stopped doing power cleans, stopped doing advanced stuff, stopped doing plyometrics, did only up to the standards in my knee stuff, and worked on his left-right plant. And his vertical went slingshot. The knee pain went away. His left quad grew, and now his head's way over the rim. He's arguably jumping the highest on the planet right now with no squats, no deadlifts, no power cleans, and no plyometrics. Just getting his ankles and knees to match his getting his decelerators to match his insane acceleration. This is a guy, those guys who can just do Nordics and they've never trained it. That's the shit that took me 3 years, right? So this is a guy who can do Nordic. He's one of the only guys I've trained who can do a single leg Nordic the way I coach it. And yeah, but the decelerators couldn't handle it. So he's in pain. So now he's refraining from expressing his full force. And he's only jumping right, left. And I found his landing leg, he only was landing on the right leg. So if you jump right, left, that means the right's under more time under tension. And if you're only landing on your right leg, when you get into the 40-inch vertical territory, and in basketball, you're reaching with one side, so you end up usually landing on the other leg. And he was doing all his dunks left-handed, landing on his right leg. So that's like doing depth drops from 45 inches hundreds of times. His right quad was jacked 2 inches bigger than his left. But when you jump, you're not truly on one leg. It's still the sum of both legs. So now his left quad caught up, and the guy is just flying. And no triple jump, long jump, or high jump male world record has been broken in over 25 years. I don't know if you're aware of that. So we think athletes are better now. Well, actually, in high jump, triple jump, long jump, they're worse than they were. Even in the 60s, they were actually long jumping better than they are now. Guys are winning golds now who wouldn't have made the Olympics 20, 30 years ago. And the only guy recently who's come close to breaking a record and won a gold medal was Christian Taylor. He was on the verge of retiring due to injuries. His coach said, hey, maybe let's switch sides. Started out tough. Within 2 years, broke his own personal best, won an Olympic gold medal. And guess what? Now he's only gone downhill since then because he only works that side now. He totally missed the gold that he had stumbled upon. If your left leg's an 8 and your right leg's a 10, and you get your left leg to also be a 10, it doesn't matter how you're jumping. You're going to be able to jump better. So literally, that's my plyometric strategy right there. Find me a balanced jumper. I've never seen it. Every volleyball player could jump higher just by doing the other plant, reaching with the other hand. So then they're landing. Most right-handed volleyball players are landing almost full weight on that left leg when they land from that jump. They're landing so much force through there. It's like doing single leg 40-inch depth drops for years, but not on the other side at all. Very scary stuff. So when they test landings, looks like 70% more chance of knee ligament tear if you have imbalanced landings. And we almost all do. And well, we have this epidemic of knee injuries, and we're forcing kids to jump, and we're putting so much pressure on it to get a scholarship and to dunk in the layup line. When you can dunk right-handed in the layup line, that's it, man. You're never going to go to left hand because you don't want to look like an idiot and miss that dunk and be embarrassed. So we use dodgeballs. We lower the rim down, and I get guys. So my thing is like, I don't care if you can dunk 10 foot if you can't dunk 9 foot off your other leg with your other hand. You only get to raise the rim when you can do all 4 plants, either leg off 1 foot and 2 foot jumps off either plant.
I fucking love that.
In 10 seconds, that's my plyometric formula right there. I just said it in 10 seconds. That's it.
How do you monitor jumps? What do you have a specific number of volume that they need to hit before they can move up?
I try to kind of copy like what tends to traditionally work in plyometric stuff. So maybe like 30 max jumps per week or something, but it's really athletes are going to do what they're going to do. So if it's a volleyball player, I just try to get them after practice. Like, okay, like before you hit the showers, just do once a week. Just go do 10 jumps off the other plant. 52 weeks, that's going to add up. That's now going to be 500 plus jumps off the other plant. You're going to notice different definition that you didn't have. The tendons are going to be healthier because it can go both ways. It's not like you just hurt the weaker side. You actually are more likely to blow out the stronger side because you're putting now ridiculous amounts of force into it. That was Derrick Rose's first ACL. Routine play. But I watched every career dunk. Fortunately, people compile this kind of shit. I watched every career dunk up to that point. He only jumped left leg off 1 foot or left right off 2 foot and only landed 2 foot or left leg first. That right leg was never used to handling the force. So he did a routine jump stop that should have been landed through the right leg, but didn't, and had to pull his other leg awkwardly in. There's his first ACL. So it can go both ways. It doesn't mean that you just hurt the weaker side. It means you also end up into really weird positioning from the imbalance itself.
Bro,
one of the things that I love about this idea, focusing your plyometrics only on the sports skill, and especially that your program is very general based, is that you give the athlete the chance to really just execute what it is that they got to do. Right. And
that's the other side of it.
We
If my plyos are
overcomplicate
dunking,
everything.
I'm
Right.
going to be better at dunking than you are.
Yeah.
Because I'm dunking and you're
Right.
doing box jumps while I'm nothing against that. But now I'm not doing doubled work plyometric because most of these athletes are doing too much. And now I have all those reps. So when I get my opportunity, that's one thing people notice in my system. In-game dunking goes way up because our only plyos for basketball players is dunking. Not to mention, you're forcing yourself to be able to dunk evenly with either hand. You're now having to dribble in evenly. So you just become better at the game. Kobe dunked all 4 plants in games. He's the only player I've found to date on earth at any level who consistently dunked all 4 plants. But you'll never hear anyone talk about that on SportsCenter. But every player out there who's picking only one plant to try to get John Calipari to take notice of him, because that plant he can do a between the legs dunk and the others can barely touch rim. Every player should know this about the jump balance. It hasn't, like, that hasn't quite gotten sexy enough, but eventually, I think eventually it'll catch on. Kobe was doing it. Only player in history consistently dunking all 4 plants. But look how skilled he was. Because now when he just does a spin move for a jump shot, but he can dunk off that plant. So everywhere he's going, there's no weak aspect in his skill. Now, I don't know what his strength training was like. And people will be like, oh yeah, but Kobe had different injuries. Well, fuck off, dude. He played 20 years, dropped like 60 in his last game. Like, we would all be so lucky to play 20 years at that level. Like trying to judge anyone's workout system off their pro career, there are so many other factors that you can see different points. Look at where success leaves clues, but you can't just be like, oh, Kobe's strength training sucked because he tore his Achilles. I mean, there's way too many factors there. And again, the dude played 20 years. That's the most telling thing by far, is just how long you play. If you're Brandon Roy, who was a star for the Trailblazers and had to retire in his 20s because of his knees, that's like super unfortunate. And that you might be able to really find like, well, that really sucks. But Kobe played 20 years. So like, I'm not going to be the one to critique his workout program. But did the jump balance play into him playing 20 years? Well, only player in history and best longevity other than LeBron, who doesn't do the jump balance, but like God put jump balance in his legs. Like he has more muscle in his legs than anyone in the NBA. So I feel like for him, he's out there coasting. Like, you wouldn't get injured playing against 8th grade girls on an 8-foot rim. Like, you wouldn't get hurt. And so LeBron has that muscular protection. So the jump balance is just one factor. But for a pretty skinny dude, Kobe's knees actually held up pretty well, if you think about it.
So what do you do for guys that are aging, right? Like, are you doing a similar program for people that are aging? Like, let's just progress it.
Well, I think if you're aging, for one thing, just the body weight stuff, like if you can just maintain those abilities, they're pretty tough, abilities. And just being able to maintain that is already going to like put you in the upper 1% for aging. So I have 2 different 86-year-olds that are just crushing it. They can like jog and shit at 86. Now, also consider that I educate in a way that it's not all about the programming. Part of it is just learning tools for life. And so my strategy of conditioning is I only condition backwards. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with forwards conditioning, but my target audience is mostly, people who've had knee problems. So it's just like, why add more forward conditioning if you've already had knee problems? Why not condition backwards? So I get people walking backwards. Imagine if you could walk backwards. If you could walk backwards, you could drag like a 1-pound little plate backwards. And so this kind of concept, I call it reverse out knee pain. And it's just the concept of like, get better backwards, backwards. And so for a lot of older people, it's just about maintaining that. If you look, Chinese elderly have been doing it for thousands of years. They only have 1 knee replacement for every 19 of ours. They're kings at avoiding arthritis, but they're elderly. We think they're crazy. And when I post this stuff, people are like, no shit, I see people doing this in my freaking neighborhood. The Chinese are always doing it. And these Chinese, they go out to the field and they walk backwards. And they just maintain the ability to squat with full knee bend, not with weights. So I've only been doing this 2 years. And again, my goal is to give people tools. It's not like I'm going to keep like training that 86-year-old to try to like I'm usually going to be like, look, like if you just want, so I try to be clear that I think just the body weight for longevity, like I think that's enough. And like, if you wanted to add, now some of them are weight exercises, but when it comes to a lot of the leg stuff, like you're handling your own body weight, doing a full knee bend, on one leg ATG split squat, flat ground, like most people can't even do that. So my mom's 66 and she can do that easily. And she can still run like a little gazelle. Her hip problems have gone away, but I'm not going to load her up. So it's more about just the, really just the knowledge for them and finding the tools that they need, that it's like, okay, if I can maintain this, I'm going to like live great forever.
Have you
or,
seen,
you know, as long as they're alive.
Yeah. Have you seen, or, well, you know, obviously 5,000 programs, there are going to be injuries. What's the most common tweak that you guys end up seeing with this?
I mean, knock on wood, that's the amazing thing, is we see super low levels, you know, compared to the norm. And it's the same when I train people in person. I'm just trying to think of what that would be. I mean, if you do it right, you're just not going to see that much problems. Probably more so just people seeing me do stuff on Instagram and then like trying to do that.
Like that 6 foot depth drop to one leg
Right.
into a knee over toe squat.
Right. So about once a week, I'm like, fuck, I need to just make a post showing people how easy it is to start and not to do. So like right before we were getting on here, I was doing like something pretty impressive, but then I literally filmed like repeating it all the way back to like what an elderly person can do. And when we finish, I'm going to chop that up into like a video to show people. That would be the main thing, is just trying to do the end goal, but not actually working your way there. Now, in the beginning stages, when I was only addressing the knee, which are pretty solid exercises, people were getting shin splints because now they're getting more powerful legs, but they weren't doing the ankle. So for me, it was kind of like a whole reverse engineering system of mistakes. Like, oh, full knee bend squat is great. Well, wait a second. My left knee has 3 surgical alterations in it. That's always going to be janky if I don't figure out, oh, okay, ATG split squat. Oh, but full knee bend at all, most people don't even have the quad strength for that to begin with. Oh, okay, just a reverse step up. Let's just do that. You see what I mean? Oh, wow, someone can't even stand on a 2-inch box and reach up. All right, let's just start by walking backwards, because every step your knee goes over your toe. Let's build till you can walk backwards for 15 minutes. Oh, wow, now you can do a step. You can do the reverse step up. So it's like, it's been like a complete system of reverse engineering all the way down to where now for me that ankle stuff is key, because now the person's not going to get the shin splints or the foot or the heel pain, because now they've jacked up their legs and they're trying to dunk, but they haven't equally jacked up the foot and ankle. So I'd say there's been probably plenty of different injury stuff, but we've definitely solved like all the major stuff. And part of that is just even learning, well, I'd love to train 4, 5, 6 days a week, but if I'm training 5,000 people, some people that are going to get over, to any degree that their form is off, they don't send in their form video. Like now we're subject to now them not having recovered from so 3 days a week. So definitely 3 days a week from the ground up, you really wipe out any kind of common injuries.
Brooker, you go.
Unless you got something on this topic, because I wanted to move on. So you mentioned that you had a gym, and then
Yes.
you
6
obviously
years.
a passionate coach, right? But
Yep.
of course you can't make much money with coaching, and on the digital realm, there's this infinite scalability. Now, was you going in with a business mindset, or was you just randomly falling in?
It's never been about business for me. And I loved running my gym, and it's super bittersweet not to have a gym. It's not ideal not to have a gym. What I'm doing happens to be so unorthodox that it's more like people just need this shit online. And as long as I'm running a gym, I'm not going to be able to give everything to online. And to be honest, then Corona came in, and it's like in the back of my mind, I had known if I want to be the best online, I'm going to have to give up the gym and just sacrifice online. That's just a fact of life. It doesn't mean that I wanted to give up the gym. It doesn't mean that the gym wasn't doing well. The gym was starting to get pro. There's no way I would have shut down the gym if it weren't for Corona, because I was finally starting to get heaps of NFL and NBA guys wanting to train in person. So there's no way I would have shut down the gym. Loved the gym. And I still eventually want to, reopen a gym somehow, but I'm just being honest with myself that it's like, if I want to be the best online, I have to sacrifice everything to that. It's that simple. Super bittersweet not to have a gym. Having a gym is like the most fun freaking thing. Way more fun than online coaching. Way more. Now, why might online coaching be fun? Well, I have a newborn baby. I didn't used to spend enough time with my wife. I get to make sure I can be there for them. So life has its different phases. So now I'm just doing that phase. But my 5-year plan is still actually to open a gym.
You want to open right back up again, huh?
Yeah. I think I want to come up with like kind of an online style though, where like if you're it's just a free gym, but you have to be an online member for like X amount of time. And like if you hit the standards, which anyone can do in about 6 months, like if you hit the standards, you earn yourself like free gym membership, and then people can train, have that atmosphere. Cause that's the thing I miss is the in-person atmosphere. That's what I miss. So I want to bring that back, but social media is money. So if you have now a gym that you like earn your way in, and then like, people are going to be posting about it, and it's not going to be slouches with bad form posting about it because they've already been verified as having the standards. So that's kind of like my long-term idea is like to open like an online gym. And if that went well, then I could gradually build them out like in big cities where it's like, where I know like, okay, I have 600 members here. So even if it's just a wash, okay, at least those online members cover this gym, which might be great on social media, kind of raise more, make it more fun. Again, the community aspect. So even with the app alone, community and competition without a doubt are the keys, but also the community and competition in person. Like I would love to get back to that. So that is my 5-year plan, is to get back to that and to figure out like how to make a gym that kind of goes hand in hand with the online. Cause I love training with people and training people. Like it's, I have to get back to that. It's too good. The in-person stuff is too much fun.
Do you have financial goals?
I already exceeded them, to be totally honest with you. I'm not financially
for lifetime
driven. Oh, I mean, for lifetime, that probably has more to do with how much the government takes of our money. But I would say lifetime would just be now that I've exceeded my financial goals, is trying to put that money smartly into stuff where the government can't take it, like real estate. So you'd have to ask my wife. Like my wife just says like, go make money. She's the one who like knows, she runs all our money. She's the best. She's like doing taxes at 4 a.m. last night. So for my intents and purposes, like I'm good. And now it's just about, she's really operating to make sure that we smartly do that. We're not like extravagant people. So just making sure we smartly do that. But even being like, oh, I want to have enough money that my kids can go to college and their kids can go. Yeah, but your kids shouldn't be raised like that. They should have to earn their own freaking way, even if you do have that money in reserves. Like that's an illusion, this concept that you're going to like make enough money to pay for all your future generations. That's the worst thing you could do for your future generations. Life should always be a game. I mean, we evolved escaping death multiple times a day. It's like a total illusion that we thrive on this no game lifestyle where there's no risk. No, that's like the worst thing you can do. So I'm not saying I'm like going to put my money in Vegas or something, but even if I made all the money in the world, like my kids will have no idea.
Yeah. So that's what I'm getting at, right? Like my mindset is there's only so much money a man needs, right? Like I've
already exceeded what I need.
Yeah. Right. So people think I'm out of my fucking mind because I have a specific number that I need to hit. There's a range that I need to hit. Right. Totally. And as soon as I hit that fucking range, I'm done. Ungats. Yep. Like I don't need to do any more of this shit. I'm still going to train. And they say, well, what will you do? I said, I'm going to do exactly what I'm doing now, except I'll do it for fucking free. I don't give a shit. So now
my favorite plan is to have a free freaking gym.
Bro, that's exactly
like have
right.
more fun, like have more experiences that actually matter,
Yeah. So you think that would be your goal after
That's
all this
my
is
goal.
set? Yeah.
Yeah. To have like my free gym where people earn their way in there. And then you're around like-minded people. Cause I do feel for those people go and do that. Like, dude, if you're a chick and you want to go do like a seated good morning, getting your tits to the bench with like in a gym of random people that like, my system's not ideal for going in a commercial gym. You can definitely, many people do it from a commercial gym, but it's probably better suited for like a garage gym, like on your own. So long-term, the idea that I could have a safe haven where people can go do this shit, you know what I mean? Be around other people. I don't know, to there you go. I already said it before you even brought up the money aspect, was that that's my end goal.
I like that, man. Dude, that's awesome. Brooker, you got any more questions?
I mean, yes and no, but let's wrap the recording up. That was perfect.
Awesome.
Where can well, I'm sure everyone already knows where to find you, but where can everyone find you? What are we looking at here?
Definitely Instagram. Great place to find me, because unless there's like TikTok is almost like a curse, because like out of nowhere, something gets like 1 million views. And then I'm like, I have a backlog right now, but I usually answer DMs under 24 hours. And I have quite, like, I'm going to try to sell you to sign up for sure, but I also have like quite a bit of free articles depending on what the person asks me about. So even if you DM me there, like, I'm never just skipping DMs. If I don't get back in 24 hours, it's just a backlog and I'm going to get back to you. So even if you never want to pay me, I can probably still provide some pretty good value. I will definitely like try to also sell you, but you get my, like, I'm being honest about it. There's also like some pretty great free articles I have, free videos I have. So at KneesOverToesGuy on Instagram, for sure. Best place to find me.
Ben, class act, man, dude. You keep fucking crushing it, dude. I'm so pumped for you. It's great. I can't wait
Dude,
to see how much bigger you get.
You laid the foundation. That's why, I mean, this is my favorite podcast ever. No offense, just because, you know, I grew up freaking worshiping you. And one day when I have that free gym, you'll have to come catch a workout in my free gym and I'll come work out with you at your place.
Bro, if you're ever East Coast, Jersey side, you always got a home.
Love it. Our 2 to 3 year plan is to go up to like New York a little bit. So definitely.
Doors open, man. Thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you
cheers.
both.
Big inspiration, man. Keep it up.
Thank you. Alex, where are you at, man?
I'm in Swiss, buddy.
Oh, wow.
Switzerland. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Jealous.
Yeah. Well, man, listen, once you start taking over the US, you have to take over the world, right? The beauty of the internet is
not
you're
trying to take
worldwide.
over, but hopefully you'll see some dudes doing ATG split squats in your gym sometime soon.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Listen, man, good luck, dude. You're a big inspiration. Very cool.
Thanks, bro. Thank you.
Stay on the line real quick. Hold on.
Yeah.